Welcome. You're tuned into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Micheal Pope.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you out there in the virtual neighborhood of Life is a Sacred Journey. I had some problems this morning. Facebook has not been kind to me lately, and nor has Zoom. Yesterday, I was in the middle of a meeting, and that meeting went well, and I moved right to another meeting, and I couldn't get back into Zoom, so I had to do it from my phone. So I have no idea. I think I am on my own uh, Facebook page and not on Life is a Sacred Journey, but I reach out to you all this morning to share, to share and hit the share button and let others know to come on over to this side of the Facebook platform so that we can get started here at Life is a Sacred Journey. And I have no idea what's going on. I'm getting a new computer today. And so that may help the situation a little bit, but all I can say is good morning. And the older I get, the more I laugh at life and what it throws at me, because I have no idea. I have no idea why these things happen. And you know what? Oh, I'm turning this down. I have no idea why they happen. And at this point in my life, I don't really care anymore. And we just got to keep it moving. Okay. So, welcome. If this is your first time to Life is a Sacred Journey, we come here every Friday morning at 8 a.m. to discuss ageism, aging in America and throughout the world, as well as to give tips and bring guest speakers. We have guest speakers from all over the world that have joined us here on Life is a Sacred Journey to really help those of you out there that are caregiving in any way. We always light a candle for those that are experiencing grief, for those that in our lives that we have lost, and we want to celebrate life in any way that we can. So welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey. If you're used to coming and seeing us on our own page, Life is a Sacred Journey, this morning you are on Micheal Pope's page. And so welcome, welcome. Hit the share button and follow us, follow us, follow us. I met a group of people this last weekend who told me that they wanted support and help as it related to Alzheimer's and dementia. And I was able to guide them to Life is a Sacred Journey to a couple of our guest speakers, and they called me right away and said how useful that information was. So just share, we're not asking you for any money. We're not even asking you for your time. We're just asking you to take your finger and hit share to those individuals that are a part of your 1,000 or plus friends. I have 1,000 or plus friends, it says. And so this is going out to all of them this morning and to all of you. I want to thank Felicia for her great work that she continues to do behind the scenes as my producer. And just to say how much I love her and her family and her son, and just, she just does great work for Life is a Sacred Journey. And for me, we have a wonderful relationship, and I've just been honored to call her my friend. While she is the producer of this and helps me to navigate it and tells me, like right now behind me, my mural is opening up and coming apart. She just does everything she can to help me feel good and to make me look good. So thank you, Felicia. And I hope everybody is well in your neck of the woods. So let's get started. This week, I have been speaking to a lot of people who are caregivers, a lot of people, not only here at ASEB or Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, but people that I come across in my church work, or just people that I come across when they find out what I do as a career. And the caregiver word is a word that we use to describe a lot of different things. I think parents are caregivers, children caring for their parents are caregivers. parents caring for older adult children that have disabilities are caregivers. Neighbors are caregivers when they take a pot of soup to a friend down the street or look out for their house. We all are caregivers. I wrote down because I remember when this was said, and I think it was Rosalind Carter, former First Lady of the United States. There are only four kinds of people in this world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, and those who will, oh, wait a minute. There are only four kinds of people in this world, excuse me: those who have caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be, and those who will need caregivers. Caregiving is a universal concept. So it is. I mean, we're all doing some form of caregiving at some time. And so in the United States, AARP, which has a public policy arm, really looks at this because we also know that caregiving has its health challenges that come along with it. And there's, over 40 million people, and I think that number is higher now because this research was done a while back, that are caregiving, unpaid caregivers. That means family members, neighbors, siblings, parents, caring for someone that needs help and support. So caregiving is not just the paid caregivers that you see in assisted livings, board and cares, and hospitals, and all of these places. Those individuals are caregivers as well. We found that out during the pandemic, that they were necessary caregivers that needed to go to work, and we were trying to find ways to make that possible for them. But caregiving is anyone that lifts a hand to help another person, and we do look at it as an established length of time. So, for instance, there is a participant in our program that I know where his neighbor for many, many years has been looking out for him at night, looking out, making sure he gets out of the house to get on our van. Well, that's a caregiver because it's an interruption in your own personal daily process that makes caregiving one of those things where you're responsible for the other. So I wanted to talk a little bit about caregiving, and I want to give you a quiz. So here's the quiz. I'm going to list a couple of things, and I'll tell you why. And I want you to check them off if this is you. Okay, so check them off if this is you. Purchasing or organizing medications. Monitoring someone's medical condition. Communicating with healthcare providers or professionals. Advocating on their behalf with providers or agencies. Getting in and out of beds or chairs if you're assisting somebody in doing that. If you're assisting someone in getting dressed, bathing or showering, doing the groceries or shopping for other items, taking them to buy a new nightgown, a new robe, or a new pair of shoes. Any housework that you're doing on behalf of another. Preparing meals and taking them to another person, or managing the finances of another person. You are a caregiver. And it says, if you answered yes to any of the things listed above, you are a caregiver. And that is something that is, as I used to say, it's a dying art to be able to care for another person. When you're caring for someone and you're realizing that that individual is someone who you love, or a neighbor that you just have a heart for, or someone you just want to do something for the humanity. Caregiving, you are a caregiver. So there are, from Johns Hopkins Behavioral Bayview Medical Center, they did a research about family caregivers, and what they found was that many family caregivers stopped taking care of themselves. They stopped going to the doctor on a regular basis. Their dental care declines. Their sleep patterns change. They're not taking appropriate care of themselves, eating at the right time, and even forgetting to take their own medications. And what they found is that over a long period of time, that neglect to oneself, they begin to thrive on that neglect, and then they also are living with a heightened stress level that chemically changes everything in their body, in their brain, in their body, everything. And so that's why when the person that they're caring for either passes away, or as we spoke about last week, the caregiver makes the decision that they can no longer handle it, and I don't like to say stuff like that, because it doesn't mean you can't handle it. It just means in this period of time in your life, you're not able to do all of those things and take care of the other side of the sandwich. When you think about the sandwich generation, um, you may have children at home yourself. You may be still working. You may have your own medical issues or disabilities that you're coping and thriving and living through, and then others. So it's not like a one or the other, and it's not a good or bad thing, to get to the point where you say, a lot of people have made the commitment to keep their loved one at home, but there may come a time, as we spoke about last week, where that's not possible in order for you to maintain your health. And you have to look at the relationship. How does this new added relationship change the relationship that you had with the individual? And are you still able to see and seek and have joy in that relationship if you're doing all of the heavy lifting? And that's it. There's nothing more. The language of, I just got a book out of the sack of books that we had here, and it's all about the origins of words and phrases. And we say things sometimes that, and I'm guilty as charged, where those things those things aren't good. They sound bad, and they make it seem like, and that's why we're such a good or bad society, that some things are just not either or, they just are. And so as you're caregiving and trying to figure out what is the best place or the best thing for you to do for your loved one, understand that the trajectory of that relationship may change over time, and that what is good for today may not be good for the next season and may not be good for the next season. And it depends on both of you and not just on one individual. If the person is someone that you have to lift, and you yourself have arthritis or sciatica or other things going on, lifting a person 3, 4, 5 times a day may not be in the best interest of your health. And so you have to look at all of those factors just to make sure that you're aware of how those things are impacting your health and your well-being. So I wanted to bring that up in my pondering today, because I spoke to many kids, I said this week, that were already feeling grief, already feeling guilt for things that were happening in their caregiving relationship. And I'm so glad that my team and I had an opportunity to speak with these individuals to say, no, don't feel guilty for something that you don't know. You're not a medical professional. Even we work together as a team. There was a physical therapist on the call. There was a doctor, our medical director, on that call. I was on that call. Our life enrichment director was on that call. Our intake coordinator was on that call. So we were all on that call sharing our own wisdom, education, experience in order to help these families. And if you're standing alone and only living and asking Google for responses and answers, you may very well get burdened by the very activity that you want to live into, and that is caregiving. Caregiving is, for me, over the last 27 years, has been one of the most incredible experiences that I have embarked upon in my life. I never thought, when I came to Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay 27 years ago, that I would still be here. I wasn't planning on being here. but I fell in love. I fell in love with the people that come in here and need our support, guidance, empathy, and love. I fell in love with the caregivers because I saw their strength, their courage, and their passion to ensure that their loved one was living a full and healthy life. And I saw neighbors that were coming in and saying, nope, we're not related, but this is my best friend for the last 20 years or whatever. I have seen spouses who have loved their partner in such a way, wife, husband, partner, in such a way that it was profound to me because I don't have that in my life. And so it just was profound to me to see that kind of love from two people that came together 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 40 years ago, 20, 10, 5, whatever it was. And they decided to be bonded together in marriage and partnership, and to see them walk with this person in their time. I've been able to see in our most recent years where our LGBTQI community, ASEB, has been trained by Lavender Seniors, and we have individuals coming who now are saying, oh, it's so refreshing to be able to bring my loved one here and speak our truth and live into our truth and know that you will respect them and love them. That's all now happening in our 30 plus years as an organization here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay. And that means that that's happening in the world. In a very microscopic way, it is happening in the world, and caregiving is growing, 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 not only because we don't have a cure for Alzheimer's, but we, as I said, I think 4 or 5 ponderings ago, there's many, many dementias, and not just Alzheimer's dementia. That's the one thing that I'll keep, refraining back to. Think of an umbrella. Okay, think of an umbrella with the little spoke things that keep the umbrella tight so that when you push it up, it spreads out over you. Well, if we dangled every cause that causes dementia, disease that causes dementia, every spoke of the umbrella would be filled. And the umbrella at the top would have the word dementia on it. So dementia is the place that captures all of those diseases that that cause neurological damage in a way where the person loses memory, loses the ability to function, spatial things. They have spatial problems where walking from space to space, when you see different carpets or different what do I want to say, tiles. So if you see a black tile and then a white tile and a black tile looking like a checkerboard, sometimes people with dementia have a hard time with that because they don't identify it as a floor, and that the black tile looks like something that they could fall into, like you're looking down into a cave. And so we have to know and be alert to the changes in the person that we're caring for, their behavior. But I just want to stop. I'm trying to, this is my mission, to get people to stop saying my family member only has dementia. Because dementia, there is a cause for the dementia. Dementia is the house that all those diseases live in. And we'll go back and I think it was 4 ponderings or 3 ponderings ago, but go back where I describe all of the dementias. And that way you'll have a better idea, because the treatments, the way the person's behaviors are going to be, the how long, all those things depend on the form of dementia, not the word dementia itself. Dementia holds all the behaviors. Dementia holds the diseases. Dementia is the overarching word to describe all of it. So I hope I clarified that a little bit for you today. And now I want to give some tips for caregivers. Having been a caregiver, not only here at Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay, but a caregiver throughout my life, in and out, caregiving can be very, very hard on your emotional intelligence. You can think that you're not doing the right thing. You can become angry. You can feel grief. You can become impatient, all of those things. And you have to understand that you are being bombarded constantly with stimulus that is pushing you to see something that you may not have the training to see. And so take a deep breath, sit down, relax. Like I said to this one family member, there's a person that I know that I visit, and she sometimes gets agitated because of whatever's going on around her in the assisted living that she lives. And she gets really angry. And one day when I went to visit her and she didn't have her socks and shoes on, I usually visit her and we go for a walk. She didn't want to put on her socks. Well, I felt it was important because the shoes that she had chosen without socks, that she was going to flop around in those shoes, and those shoes they weren't going to stay on her feet very well. And so she was really angry. So I was afraid to stand in front of her or lean in front of her to put her socks on because she had full access to kick me in the face or any part of my upper torso. So we waited. We waited and we waited and we waited. And I never talked about the socks. I never talked about the shoes. I never talked about the walk. And then finally she came out of it. I held her hand. We looked out the window. Every once in a while, I would say to her, "Do you see that squirrel? Did you see that squirrel running up the side of the tree?" And she would squeeze my hand. She wasn't talking to me at that time. And it wasn't about me. And we could hear birds fussing and fighting at each other. They were blue jays, and we were just fussing. They were fussing and fighting. And I said to her, "Do you hear them?" And she said yes. So she said yes. And then I stopped talking. And then I started rubbing her hand. I took some oil in my hand and I rubbed it, some lavender oil, and I just rubbed my hands with it. And then I took her hands and I rubbed her hands and I looked at the palm of her hands and I said, "Oh, wow, how beautiful the lines are on the palms of your hand." And then I took the palm of my hand and put it on the top of hers. And I said, "Oh, look, we have some similar lines in our hands." I said, "That's why we're such great friends." And then I got up, and because she was a little tense, and I put some more lavender oil on my hands. Lavender is proven to calm people. And I massaged her shoulders just like this, in and out, back and forth. And during that time, I said nothing. I found some meditation music on my phone, very low, as I did that. Then I decided, okay, we're going to go for this walk. More lavender oil. I smelled like lavender oil for days because I couldn't get it out even after I washed my hands. More lavender oil, shmoom, yum, yum, yum. And I moved down to her ankles. And I rubbed her ankles very gently because she has a little edema, very gently pushing that edema around and out. And then I moved down to her feet, to the heel of her foot, lifted up her foot, started to massage it. And then every toe I pulled and massaged and got some oils on it. Then before I put her foot down, I put the sock on. Okay? And then I repeated it with the other foot. That whole thing I was only going to be there an hour. I ended up being there an hour and a half because it took 45 minutes to move her from a state of anxiety, I don't know, again, anger. She was angry. And all of that, 45 minutes. Then I rubbed her feet, oiled her feet, got her soothing. The room now was smelling like lavender, like the whole room was smelling like lavender. We were smelling like lavender. And I put her shoes on and she looked at me and smiled. And I said, "Are we ready to go for our walk?" And she said, "Yes." She got up and out we went for our walk. Our walk took about 30 minutes. We came back and sat on the bench that is at the assisted living, and I put my head on her shoulder. And I told her how much I love her, and I thanked her for letting me come and visit with her. And then I pulled my head up, and then her head went on my shoulder. Not prompted, she just did it. And I stroked her head, and stroked her hair and her head. And then her hair now smells like lavender, I'm sure, after that. And then we went back upstairs, and she laid down. She actually wanted to lay down. So I laid her down, covered her up, um, kissed her on the head, because I don't kiss on the face. I kissed her on the head, and left. Put my mask on and left. When I was walking through the congregate areas, um, I wouldn't catch COVID or anything like that. That's connection. And sometimes we have to slow down, because people with Alzheimer's and dementia cannot process, or other forms of dementia, excuse me, cannot process all that stimulus and all that talking. You know, we are a talkative group. Excuse me, as a society, we use our words a lot. And talking is the one way that we communicate, and we think it's the only way that we communicate, and we get frustrated when people don't respond to us. But sometimes silence says so many things. And as long as you're holding the person's hand, or you're rubbing their own shoulder, or rubbing something on their elbow, um, that human touch. My hands are very cold, and so I'm constantly doing this before I touch her, because I don't want to startle her as well. So those are just some tips that I wanted to share with you this morning, just through the conversations that I have. I share them with you so that you can share them with others and pass it on, so people don't have to keep struggling with caregiving. And by the time some people come to Alzheimer's services of the East Bay, they are at their wits' end. They've already been caregiving for over 10 years. And we need to help people when they first are diagnosed. That's when you can actually engage with the individual that has the dementia, unless you've waited too long because you've thought, oh, it'll go away, or I can do this. No, 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 you can't. You can't do it. They need to see a neurologist. It's great if there's a gerontologist. The PCP is great. Your primary care physicians are great. But I'm here to tell you, you need to get your loved one into a neurologist for a clear diagnosis of what form of dementia that it is. Assuming that because they're over the age of 65, that it's Alzheimer's, is a very poor assumption to make. Yes, that is a hallmark to Alzheimer's, but that is not everybody over the age of 65 that is experiencing memory loss and other behaviors that look like Alzheimer's. Is it Alzheimer's? It could be an aneurysm. It could be they had a stroke. It could be so many other things. So please get them into a neurologist. If there's a gerontologist in there, get them to see that individual, because they've studied aging. They've studied the medications that older people. I'll give you a prime example. And again, this happened. We had someone, they went to the dentist, had some teeth pulled. They used gas. Obviously, because the person would have been agitated because of the light and all the stuff. Well, the residual of that has gone on now for a really long time. Agitation, confusion, enhanced and heightened uh, uh, irritability. And it happened right after that tooth extraction. So talk to your medical providers, whether they be physicians or dentists is a form of physician, but talk to them and let them know. Sometimes things have to be done in a different way, and we have to figure out a way to do it where the impact and the after effect will not be as hard on this person who's trying to live in this world and navigate this world with cognitive decline. Okay? All right. I hope that helped, and I hope that you will pass it on. All right, I want to speak to COVID-19 for a minute too, or the coronavirus or COVID now, because it's a whole new strain that we're living with right now. I got into a conversation with somebody, an older person, not too long ago, was very angry with me because I made the comment that people should be wearing masks. And, you know, if you don't have a mask and you're hugging a stranger or somebody that you know is not vaccinated or not in your inner bubble, the probability, the possibility of you receiving COVID or contracting COVID and then passing it on to other people goes up. The person disagreed with me, even though in the county, in every county now, what they're doing is looking at the wastewater to see how much of the COVID virus is in the urine that goes out into the waste areas, and it's up. Okay, it's up. There's this new strain which some of us have had. I had it in late in August. It was bad. I wrote on Facebook, which I normally don't talk about any illnesses or anything like that on Facebook because I'm pretty private about those things. But that was like, whoa. And it was more of my giving a warning to say, pretty healthy person here, take all my vitamins, try to keep my immune system, yay, yay, yay. And I got ill, really, really ill, to the point I couldn't lift my head up off the bed. I was dizzy. The fever lasted for like 5 days. It kept going. In the daytime, it would go down, you know, to 98 something. But then at night, it would spike again. So it was just this constant. I had this metallic taste in my mouth that food wasn't desirable to me, and I was exhausted. And I realize now, because I got over all of some of those symptoms, excuse me, but I'm still exhausted. By the end of the day, I'm ready to go to bed. I mean, I've gone home some nights and not even eaten dinner because I'm just so tired, just tired. So I take more time to rest. I've changed my schedule a little bit, which was something I needed to do anyway. All of those things, all of those things. But then I found out after you can end up with vertigo, and vertigo is because of the way this new strain, and actually apparently it was a part of the COVID-19, but it wasn't as prevalent as it's becoming. Doctors are doing their research. They don't know why, and they have an idea, but they're doing their research on it. And you can have a bout of vertigo during or after. And so that's something that you need to pay attention to, because vertigo is a mobility safety issue, a driving issue, and you want to be careful. So if you're experiencing any of those things, talk to your doctor, get on the line, speak to your advice nurse, and get the things that you need. I just read that an antihistamine might be helpful if you're experiencing that, but never take any medications without referring or having a conversation with consulting with your doctor. That's really, really important. You know, vitamin D and K3, who figured? I was taking vitamin D, but apparently not enough. And so taking more vitamin D or K3 and all these different things, but take the whole picture and look at your holistic approaches, excuse me, and look at the medical approaches, but discuss them all with your physician, particularly if you're on other medications that doing something new might get in the way of what you're doing. So those are the things I just learned today. I knew this, but it was reconfirmed. I listened to NPR on the way to work. And NPR, they were telling us in this area, Bay Area, the COVID vaccine is out, so you can go get it. They're making it available through your insurance. I think it's still free for some people. But what they did say, if you've had COVID recently, wait 90 days. So for instance, I had COVID at the end of August. So that now means if I am going to get the next COVID vaccine, that I need to wait until October to get it. So I'm traveling. This puppy is going to be with me everywhere I go. I have about 100 of them that I'm going to take with me because I found out with me and my asthma, once I've had a mask on for a period of time, it makes me a little, I don't like it, it gets hard to breathe. But let me show you the appropriate way to put the mask on. Okay, so this mask has a little, I'm going to say, wire at the top, okay? And it also has a ridge. So you see it's kind of dipping. That's where your nose goes. So you want to bend that a little bit. You put it up over your nose. I always do this because I have earrings and I have a kind of a thin face. And this is here. You see this? This little piece right here? That's your chin. So that this is going under, you see, under your chin. So this whole area is closed off to anything getting in there. And I'm sure you can hear me because my voice is very, very loud. And so you can hear, oh no, that's negative. That's a negative thing for me to say about my own self. I have a very lovely octave speaking voice. And so I know you can hear me through this mask. But this is not the way to wear a mask. Okay? And the blue masks are great. They're phenomenal. They're cheaper than probably these, but this is one of those KN95 ones. And the difference, okay, let me show you because somebody fussed with me about this too. I guess I have too much information to share because people love to fuss with me and prove me wrong, and I find that very amusing because I wouldn't say anything that I didn't do my research on. So let's get this mask right, okay? Get it right here so that it's in the right place this way. It's hard to do it because I'm looking at a mirror image. So you know what I mean. So I'm gonna light this candle and I'm gonna show you, this is bothering me because it's not right. There we go. Okay. Why this is so important. I'm gonna blow. You see? I cannot blow out this candle with the mask on, which means any cooties that I may have are not getting to anybody else. So friends, I know this is a whole new reality for us. And oh, I done messed up my lipstick. Okay, that's okay. It's a whole new reality for us. And we hate it. I hate it. I'm going to be honest and true. I hate it. But at the end of the day, I have a responsibility to those folks downstairs to not get them sick. I have a responsibility to my granddaughter to not get her sick. I have a responsibility to my family and the humanity that I choose to walk this earth with to make sure that I am not the one spreading COVID to another individual. For some people, COVID is life-threatening because they have other things going on. And so I get a little upset in a loving kind of way with people who try to act like COVID isn't dangerous. I'm here to tell you, I lost loved ones, and I have lost loved ones to COVID. And they didn't have COVID. They had other things that they had to go into the hospital for, and then they got COVID, and upper respiratory things led to pneumonia and died. And so that's still happening in the United States. And not as Europe is doing a much better job because they're wearing their masks, and people are outside more. I think that's what I think happens in the Europe that doesn't happen as much here, because we've now gone back indoors and we act like COVID. And I don't like it when people say, well, it's our new, we're just gonna have to do this now. It's like the flu. Yeah, it's like the flu. But before the first flu epidemic that happened way back in whenever it happened, 16, 17, 1800s, people weren't dying from the flu in the way that people are dying from COVID. So let's work together. Let's stop acting like COVID isn't out there. And let's know that it is still very dangerous for some people to get COVID or to be exposed to it by others. And we have a responsibility to each other. I know humanity doesn't always feel that way. We kind of like doing our own thing, being our own bosses, but we have an obligation to do the right thing as long as we're on this planet. So friends, I want you to have a wonderful weekend. I want you to go out into the world and find something fun to do. I am going to have lunch with a friend tomorrow. I have a meeting in the morning, but I'm going to have lunch with a friend, and then I'm going to go spend time with my son and my granddaughter, and I'm learning to, and this is not about ageism so much or age. It's about what I've learned, that I was living life on a roller coaster thing, just going, 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 going. And now I'm trying to slow down a little bit and smell the coffee, smell the roses. I had to give up. I gave up coffee, friends, and I'm here to tell you, after I got over the 2 weeks of headache, I am so much happier. I did have my first cup of decaf yesterday, and I didn't like it. So, so I wasn't so fond of it. So I just want to let you know, you can make any change you want to make. You can be anything that you want to be, and you can grow in this world in a way that is fruitful to you. So go out into the world, take a deep breath, smell the coffee, smell the roses, smell the fresh air, even though here in California, we've still got fires that are affecting our air. That's another reason to wear a mask, because there's particles in the air from the fires. So, it's become a fashion statement. I chose to wear black ones because they pretty much go with everything that I wear. But there's a whole rainbow of colors of masks. You can buy ones that match every outfit that you have, so you look chic. And if you're outside, you're okay. But it's when you're in a building and there's a lot of people and we're turning up the heat now and all those things, just take care of yourself. And, don't listen to the naysayers. You do what's best for you, All right. So go out, hug a tree. I saw one of my dear friends, one of my dear little friends, Forrest, hugging a tree. I said, yay! I can't wait to one day go and hug a tree with him. But go hug a tree. Hugging a tree is life-giving. It really is. I have a few of them in my backyard, so I don't have to go very far to do that. But pet a cat. If you're a cat lover, a cat lives with you, that's a great thing to do, is to pet a cat. And I used to love to pat them and rub them all the way down to the end of the tail. I'm allergic to cats, but every time I see one, I have to love one up. And I have 3 of them that turn off the alarm around my house in the camera. I see them, and they sleep in my backyard and they sleep on my front stoop. So I'm allergic to them if I touch them, but I get to see them. And when I come home, I always say, hey, how y'all doing? And I'm a dog lover because I am not allergic to dogs, but most of them. There is a few of them that I am allergic to. But pet a dog, and hug yourself. Look in the mirror and love the person that you've become. Because you know what? It takes a lot of energy, a lot of courage, and a lot of, it takes a lot to live this journey called life. And so take time to honor yourself that you've made it to this far. No day is promised to us, which I know that now more acutely than I know anything else in my life. No day is promised. So make every day the best day that you can. And come back to Life is a Sacred Journey next Friday. I think next Friday. Oh, I won't be here, but we'll do a rerun. We'll do a rerun. So come anyway. Come anyway. Next Friday at 8 a.m. And please share it. If you're looking at us on Facebook, share. If you're looking at us on Instagram, share, or Thread, share, or what's the other platform? Oh, help me. Give me telepathy. YouTube, share. I need to tell you that, yes, those numbers that we get are really great, But because of those numbers, there's online giving that Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay benefits from, and it really is helpful to us. So thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Friday. Love yourself, love another person, and make sure you give a little bit of it away. Take care. Peace.